Why is it that in English, buying a designer jacket and undergoing a literally bloody traumatic amputation share the exact same vocabulary?
It is pretty wild.
Right. Like, we don't just say things are expensive. We say they cost an arm and a leg.
Exactly.
And today, we are doing a deep dive to decode this incredibly violent, kind of desperate and deeply secretive language that native English speakers use to talk about money.
Because, money is arguably the single most universal tool for our daily survival, but it remains just this ultimate social taboo.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you can go to a dinner party and hear people happily oversharing about, their recent medical procedure.
Right. Or their marital issues.
Yeah, or their political grievances, whatever. But the moment you turn to the person next to you and ask, exactly how much money do you make a year?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The temperature in the room just plummets. You hit an invisible, solid wall.
It's the conversational equivalent of a screeching record player. And because we are socially forbidden from just using real numbers. Because doing that is considered either incredibly rude or, inappropriately boastful.
Yeah, totally gauche.
Right. We had to invent a workaround. We had to create this coded language that relies entirely on poetry, metaphor, and, strangely enough, bodily harm.
It's a really fascinating linguistic defense mechanism. To truly understand how a culture views its resources, you have to look at the idioms they use when they think no one is listening too closely.
Right.
The phrases we use to talk about personal finance, they reveal an entire psychological landscape. It shows how we value struggle, how we view privilege, and
how we handle the very real, physical panic of scarcity.
Exactly.
Which is exactly why you, the listener, need to master this.
Yeah.
Because whether you are walking into your boss's office to negotiate a raise, or maybe you're just navigating a tricky contract dispute.
We were just talking numbers.
No.
Yeah.
You are navigating a linguistic minefield. Understanding the underlying pragmatics of these phrases gives you this native level sophistication.
It really does. It allows you to express frustration or signal success and just read the room without ever committing a massive social faux pas.
So true. And to decode this landscape, I feel like we have to start where almost everyone begins their financial journey.
Right, at the bottom of the economic ladder.
Yeah. Before we can analyze the language of immense wealth, we have to understand the language of absolute zero.
Because avoiding concrete numbers isn't just a matter of politeness. When you are operating in a state of severe deficit, avoiding the exact numbers is a way to mask absolute financial terror.
Financial panic. There's a specific phrase for that baseline state of zero, actually. It's two incredibly short words, but they carry a staggering amount of weight.
Flat broke.
Flat broke. You don't just walk into a room and announce, I am poor.
Right. That's too blunt. It's too structural.
Exactly. You say, I'm flat broke.
And let's sort of dissect the mechanics of why that works so well in a conversational setting.
Yeah, let's do it.
The word broke itself is the state of financial depletion, right? But what gives this phrase its visceral punch is the word flat.
It's an intensifier.
It is, yeah.
But it's doing a lot of visual work, too. I'm picturing something completely crushed.
Exactly. Flat strips away any illusion of a hidden reserve. Think about the literal physics of the word. A tire that is low on air can still, limp along.
Right, you can make it to the gas station.
Yeah, but a flat tire means total immobility. A dead flat battery means zero energy transfer.
Wow, yeah.
So when you say you are flat broke, you are communicating a temporary state of complete physical inertia.
I'd love to go to the concert with you guys, but I'm flat broke until payday.
Precisely. It's a socially acceptable way to say that the engine of your social life has just stalled completely.
It really is. But there's a really interesting historical dimension to the word broke itself, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely.
Because it implies something was intact and has now been literally shattered.
It does. And linguistically, it traces back to the Italian Renaissance banking system, actually.
Oh, really? The Renaissance?
Yeah. The term bancarotta translates literally to broken bench.
Broken bench.
Right. So when a moneylender or a trader in the public square ran out of funds and they could no longer honor their debt,
They just close up shop.
Worse, their physical wooden bench, their banca, was ceremonially broken in half by the authorities.
You are kidding.
Nope. It was a very public physical destruction of their ability to do business.
That is incredible. So when we say we are broke today, we are subconsciously invoking a 500-year-old tradition of having our economic infrastructure just smashed in public.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a vivid image.
But while being flat broke is often used to describe a temporary, acute situation.
Like waiting for Friday's direct deposit.
Exactly. There's another phrase that describes a more chronic, systemic kind of exhaustion. And honestly, just hearing it raises my blood pressure.
I think I know the one.
Living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, that one hurts. Living paycheck to paycheck is where the language moves from that acute immobility of being flat broke to a relentless, exhausting cycle.
It's the hamster wheel.
It is. It describes a very precise mathematical reality where 100% of your income is entirely consumed by basic survival expenses.
Rent, food, utilities.
Right. And it's all gone before the cycle even begins. There's zero capital retained.
Leaving you with absolutely no financial cushion. And that word cushion is key here, I think.
How so?
Well, a cushion absorbs impact, right? If you fall, a cushion prevents a fracture. But if you were living paycheck to paycheck, you are basically walking a tightrope without a net.
That's a great way to put it.
Like if the alternator in your car dies on a Tuesday, you are in a state of immediate, catastrophic crisis because the money for the repair literally does not exist.
And what's deeply concerning is how the pragmatics of this phrase have actually shifted over the last few decades.
Oh, in what way?
Well, historically, living paycheck to paycheck described a margin of society operating right at the poverty line.
Right, minimum wage workers.
Exactly. But today, you hear people earning low six-figure salaries using the exact same phrase.
Which sounds crazy, but it's true.
It has morphed into a description of modern liquid asset poverty.
Liquid asset poverty.
Yeah. You might have a mortgage and a 401k, but if your cash flow is so tightly managed that a sudden $500 expense would ruin your month, you are still trapped in that cycle.
And it fundamentally changes your cognitive horizon, doesn't it?
It completely rewires your brain.
Because there's a lot of behavioral economics research, specifically Sinhill-Mullainathan's work on scarcity, that shows how operating in this state literally drops your functional IQ.
Oh, yeah. The bandwidth tax.
Exactly. You cannot plan for a 5-year goal because your brain is entirely consumed by a 14-day timeline.
The temporal horizon shrinks to basically nothing.
Yeah.
And the language reflects that physical and mental strain perfectly with the next idiom.
Okay, what's the next one?
Well, when you are in that 2-week cycle, you are constantly engaged in the act of making ends meet.
Making ends meet. This is where the language becomes intensely physical again.
It really does.
Earning just enough money to cover your basic expenses so that your income and your output connect.
Right. And originally, this phrase likely comes from early bookkeeping.
Oh, like actual ledgers.
Yes. At the end of the year, the column of your income and the column of your expenditures needed to literally meet at the bottom of the ledger.
I see.
If they didn't meet, you are in trouble.
But the way we use it today, it doesn't feel like quiet accounting. It feels visceral.
Yeah, it's lost that sterile math feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When I think of making ends meet, I think of a belt or like a piece of fabric.
A physical struggle.
Yes. We've all experienced trying to buckle a belt after eating way too much at a holiday dinner. You pull the two ends and they just won't touch because there's too much abundance in the middle.
Right. A very relatable problem.
But in personal finance, it is a painful, agonizing reverse of that.
A structural deficit.
Exactly that. You are pulling these two ends together, your income in one hand, your living expenses in the other, and they refuse to connect.
And not because of abundance.
No, because there is a widening void in the middle.
Yeah.
You are physically straining, trying to stretch a shrinking resource over expanding inflation.
Yeah, the language itself implies that surviving at this economic level is an active, exhausting physical exertion.
It really is. And if the ends absolutely refuse to meet, despite all that exertion, you are forced into a defensive posture.
You have to tighten your belt.
Tighten your belt. Returning directly to the body again.
Always back to the body. And this isn't a metaphor about fashion, It is a metaphor about literal starvation.
It is. It originated during times of severe famine or economic depression.
So grim.
Yeah. You are losing body mass because you cannot afford enough calories to maintain your weight. So you must physically pull the buckle of your belt to a tighter notch simply to keep your clothes on.
Wow.
It is a phrase born out of literal biological survival mode. But the modern application is entirely about digital and lifestyle deprivation, isn't it?
For the most part, yeah.
Today, tighten your belt means actively contracting your footprint. It means sitting down at the kitchen table and deciding to cancel the Netflix subscription.
Downgrading the internet speed.
Right. And stop going out to restaurants.
It is the deliberate, painful process of eliminating joy from your budget to ensure basic survival.
So if we step back and look at this landscape of scarcity that we've just mapped out,
It's pretty bleak.
it is. You are flat broke, meaning your bench has been smashed. You are trapped in a 14-day cycle, physically straining to make the ends of a string touch.
And actively starving yourself by tightening your belt.
Exactly. And when you are operating under that level of intense psychological pressure, interacting with the marketplace isn't just a chore. It feels deeply adversarial.
Which transitions us perfectly into how we talk about overpricing.
The consumer trap.
The consumer trap, exactly.
Because when every single penny is allocated just to keep the lights on, a high price tag isn't viewed as a mere inconvenience.
No, it feels like a personal assault.
Yes. And the language native English speakers use to describe high prices is outrageously dramatic.
Oh, we abandon the accounting metaphors entirely here. We move straight into the language of violent trauma.
It's so intense.
The quintessential example, of course, is complaining that something cost an arm and a leg.
Like, I love that vintage car, but it costs an arm and a leg.
Exactly.
Which just means it is unreasonably, impossibly expensive. But think about the sheer magnitude of that metaphor.
It's huge.
We are talking about buying a car, or a new smartphone, or a designer handbag. Why is our immediate linguistic reflex to equate spending money with amputating our major limbs?
Well, there's a persistent urban legend about this one, actually. Yeah. It's this idea that it comes from 18th century portrait painting. The story goes that a painter would charge you a base rate for a head and shoulders, but if you wanted your arms and legs painted into the portrait, it cost extra.
Oh, wait, I've actually heard that one. Is that true?
It's a wonderful story, but linguists widely consider it complete nonsense.
Really? Why?
Well, portrait pricing wasn't standardized like a fast food menu.
Oh, I see.
The actual origin is likely much darker. It emerged in America right after World War II.
Oh, when there were thousands of amputee veterans returning home.
Precisely. The horrifying physical cost of the war was visible in every single neighborhood.
That makes total sense.
Right. So saying something costs an arm and a leg was a grim, culturally immediate way of saying it required the ultimate devastating sacrifice.
Wow.
But on a deeper sort of macroeconomic level, the metaphor works because of how we subconsciously view money itself.
Okay, how do we view it?
Money is essentially stored human labor.
Stored human energy. I love that.
Exactly. You traded hours of your physical existence, your cognitive energy, your actual life force to acquire that paycheck. So when a retailer demands an exorbitant amount of that stored energy for a jacket, it literally feels like they're asking for a piece of your physical body.
The transaction feels like an amputation.
Exactly.
You're surrendering a piece of your past self.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. But there is a crucial nuance here, I think.
What's that?
Well, costing an arm and a leg is usually used to describe something that is objectively expensive, but optional.
Yes. Good point.
Like the vintage car. It's expensive, sure, but you can admire it, acknowledge the high price, and just walk away with all your limbs intact.
Right. Nobody is forcing you to buy the car.
Exactly. But there is another bodily idiom that implies you didn't have a choice.
And this is where the advanced pragmatics really come in. You are referring to paying through the nose.
Yes, paying through the nose. Like I forgot to book my flight for the holidays, and by the time I did, I paid through the nose.
The distinction here is entirely about coercion and resentment.
Resentment, yes.
You don't pay through the nose for a luxury good you happily desire. You pay through the nose when you are cornered.
I really want to dig into the origins of this one because it sounds like a literal torture technique.
Well, it practically was.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah. The most credible etymology traces back to the 9th century during the Viking conquests of Ireland.
The Vikings.
Yes. When the Danes conquered the Irish, they imposed an exorbitant poll tax on the local population.
Okay.
It was colloquially known as the nose tax.
Oh, no.
Yep. If you refused to pay it, or if you simply couldn't, the punishment was literal. The Vikings would slit your nose.
Good grief. So the coercion is baked right into the DNA of the phrase.
Completely. And while we aren't dealing with Viking tax collectors today, obviously,
Thankfully.
the psychological feeling of being trapped by a monopoly remains identical. Think about your airline ticket example.
Right, the holiday flight.
You have a family emergency or a business meeting you absolutely cannot miss. You are a captive consumer.
And the airline algorithm knows you are captive.
Exactly. They present you with a fare that is 3 times the normal rate, and you have to hand over your credit card while feeling completely extorted.
You are just staring at the screen and you click buy anyway.
Because you have no choice.
You know you're being taken advantage of, but you do it anyway.
Yeah.
And the sensory imagery of paying through the nose captures that perfectly, I think.
It does.
Because an amputation, it's a sudden traumatic loss.
Yeah.
But the nose is highly sensitive.
Very.
So paying through the nose feels invasive, humiliating, and deeply uncomfortable. It makes your eyes water.
It is the bitter resentment of a bad deal.
Yeah.
And if that resentment escalates, right, like if you feel the vendor isn't just leveraging an algorithm, but is actively, maliciously price gouging you in a localized environment.
We drop the bodily metaphors entirely then.
We do. We accuse them of a literal crime.
Highway robbery.
Exactly. $10 for a bottle of water at the Stadium. That is absolute highway robbery.
This one has such a cinematic origin to it.
It really does.
We are talking about 17th century highwaymen.
Right.
Bandits riding out of the woods with flintlock pistols, stopping stagecoaches.
Stand and deliver. Yes. But analyze why the highwayman was so successful and why we apply that specific crime to modern commerce.
Okay.
A highwayman operates on the road, meaning you are away from the safety of your home.
Right.
You are in transit, you're vulnerable, and you're carrying resources. The bandit controls the geography.
Which maps perfectly onto the stadium example.
Doesn't it?
Yes. Because when you are inside a concert venue or a sports stadium, you are essentially a traveler on a controlled road.
You are captive again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Security has forced you to throw away your outside water bottle at the gate. You are enclosed. The environment induces thirst.
You're sweating. It's loud.
Right. And the vendor, acting as the modern highwayman, controls the only access to the resource.
They demand $10 for something that costs them 40 cents.
Yeah.
And it is highway robbery because you aren't paying for the value of the water. You are paying a ransom for your own geographical vulnerability.
It's rent-seeking behavior at its absolute most aggressive.
It really is.
So just look at the sheer hostility of the economic environment we've painted so far.
It's a war zone.
It is. If you are poor, you are physically breaking yourself to survive. If you try to participate in the market, you are either amputating limbs, having your nose slit by monopolies, or being held up at gunpoint by a stadium vendor.
It is a terrifying adversarial landscape.
Which is exactly why humanity didn't just accept it. We had to build a defense mechanism against this environment.
We had to protect ourselves.
Exactly. And that brings us to the architecture of security. When we look at how the English language describes financial safety, the vocabulary undergoes this miraculous transformation.
The contrast is just jarring, isn't it?
It's night and day.
We suddenly pivot entirely away from industrial violence, criminal acts, and bodily mutilation, and we enter a pastoral, almost delicate semantic field.
We turn to the natural world.
Specifically, we start building a nest egg.
A nest egg.
Yeah.
The ultimate symbol of proactive financial security.
It really is the gold standard.
A nest egg is a substantial sum of money, carefully saved or invested over a long period, usually for a massive future goal like retirement or purchasing a home.
Right.
And I just love the metaphor of a bird building a nest. It is so deliberate.
Very deliberate.
Because a bird doesn't just wave a magic wand and create a nest instantly.
Yeah.
It flies out, finds a single piece of moss, and flies back to weave it in.
And it finds a single twig.
Exactly. And weaves that in. It is constructed painstakingly, trip by trip, over a long period of time.
Just as a 401k or a pension is built, paycheck by paycheck, deposit by deposit, over 30 or 40 years.
Right.
But the history of the phrase nest egg goes beyond just the architecture of the nest itself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it actually comes from a 17th century poultry farming trick.
A farming trick? I had no idea.
Yes. Farmers realized that hens are biologically driven to lay eggs in a nest that already has eggs in it.
Okay, that makes sense.
If a nest is completely empty, the hen might just ignore it. So farmers would place a fake egg made of ceramic or wood into the empty nest. This fake egg was literally called the nest egg.
Wow.
Its entire purpose was to induce the hen to lay real eggs around it, thereby multiplying the farmer's yield.
Oh, that is absolutely brilliant.
Isn't it?
Because that perfectly describes the mechanics of compound interest.
Exactly. A financial nest egg isn't just a static pile of cash hidden under a mattress.
Right, it's not just sitting there.
When you put a principal amount of money, your initial ceramic egg, so to speak, into an index fund or a high-yield savings account, it attracts more money.
It generates dividends and interest.
Yes, wealth naturally coalesces around existing wealth.
The egg induces growth. But, an egg is also incredibly fragile.
Very much so.
It represents the future. It contains the potential for comfort and life. But if the nest falls out of the tree or a predator gets in, the egg is shattered.
Which means it requires constant vigilant protection.
Exactly, which is why the architecture of security requires a secondary defense system.
You need a backup plan.
You can't just have a nest egg. You also must save for a rainy day.
Again, turning directly to the natural world.
Using the weather to conceptualize economic shocks.
In an agrarian society, a literal rainy day meant you couldn't work the fields.
Right, you're stuck inside.
Which meant a pause in productivity and income. You needed reserves in the pantry to survive the bad weather.
But today, the rain is macroeconomic.
It is. The rainy day is the corporate downsizing.
Or the unexpected medical diagnosis.
It's the transmission in the car blowing out on a Tuesday.
But if you have saved for a rainy day, that blown transmission doesn't force you back to making ends meet.
No, it doesn't.
You don't have to tighten your belt or pay through the nose on a high-interest credit card.
You simply open your financial umbrella.
It insulates you entirely. The nest egg and the rainy day fund act as a buffer between you and the violent reality of the marketplace.
You've successfully defended yourself.
You have. But what happens when you move beyond defense? What happens when the nest egg becomes so massive that the weather no longer applies to you at all?
Then we ascend to the summit of the financial ladder.
The apex.
And as you probably expect, when we describe the unfathomably wealthy, the idioms shed their delicate, natural imagery.
They really do.
They become absurd, grandiose, and deeply revealing of our cultural biases.
The phrase that always makes me laugh is describing someone as rolling in it.
Yes.
Like, did you see the size of his new yacht? He must be rolling in it.
It is pure sensory overload.
It really is.
It invokes this cartoonish, hyper-literal image, usually associated with characters like Scrooge McDuck.
Yes, diving into a vault of gold coin.
Literally diving in and physically rolling their body around in the physical manifestation of their capital.
It's a complete departure from the flat broke immobility we started with.
Totally opposite ends of the spectrum.
You are so unburdened by scarcity that wealth has basically become a tactile playground.
But underneath the casual awe of rolling in it, the English language harbors some intense moral judgments about how that person acquired their vault of gold.
That's the key, right there.
And this is where the vocabulary really acts as a mirror for our societal values.
There is a massive, highly critical distinction made based on the origin of the wealth.
There absolutely is.
And the sharpest criticism is reserved for this specific idiom. Being born with a silver spoon in their mouth.
Yes.
Like, of course, he got the vice president job. His father's the CEO. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth.
It is a scathing indictment.
It really is.
It is a deliberate delegitimization of their status. To be born with a silver spoon means you inherited vast wealth and privilege from birth.
You bypassed the struggle entirely.
You never felt the panic of a flat tire when you were flat broke. You never had to meticulously weave a nest egg.
But why a silver spoon specifically? Why not a gold crown or like a silk pillow?
It traces back to a tradition in Tudor England, actually.
The Tudors.
Yes. Wealthy godparents would gift a silver spoon, often called an apostle spoon, featuring a saint carved on the handle, to a newborn baby at their christening.
Oh, I see.
Silver was incredibly valuable, obviously, and possessing silver cutlery was the ultimate demarcator of the aristocratic class.
Right.
A peasant ate with a wooden trencher, a lord ate with silver.
So the spoon was a literal physical entry ticket into the elite class handed to you before you could even walk.
And that is the root of the resentment. The English language heavily stigmatizes unearned privilege.
It really does.
The idiom implies that because this person never had to exert the physical effort to survive the marketplace, their character is fundamentally soft.
They lack the grit that society values.
Precisely.
But wait, contrast that with another phrase used to describe massive wealth.
Okay.
What if someone wasn't born into it? What if they started with nothing, took a massive risk on a business venture, and generated an outrageous amount of profit very quickly?
Then we say they made a killing?
Exactly. She bought those tech stocks early and absolutely made a killing.
Made a killing.
Now, this phrase is fascinating to me because we are back to the language of violence.
We really are.
Making a killing. It sounds like a massacre.
Well, it originates from hunting or whaling.
Whaling?
Yeah, where a successful kill meant an enormous, sudden bounty of resources for the entire crew or the entire village.
That makes a lot of sense.
In the modern business world, it has been stripped of its literal bloodiness, obviously.
Right.
But it retains the aggression. It implies a swift, decisive strike in the market that yields massive returns.
But here is the critical difference in how we perceive it.
Okay.
Making a killing is said with reverence.
It is.
We respect it. We might be envious, sure, but we respect the hustle. We respect the predator who went out into the wild economy, took a massive risk, and dragged the carcass back to the village.
Exactly. We revere the kill because it involves active participation and extreme risk.
Yes.
But we despise the silver spoon because it represents passive inheritance.
The vocabulary demands that extreme wealth must be justified by extreme effort or risk.
Right. If you bypass the gauntlet, you are viewed with intense cultural skepticism.
It is a remarkable double standard. We have traversed an entire psychological universe just by looking at these idioms today.
From the deep valley of scarcity all the way to the absolute summit of wealth.
So let's pull this all together. Because you, the listener, navigating your daily life, you now have this matrix completely decoded.
You really do.
You understand that when someone says they are flat broke, they are signaling a complete stall in their socioeconomic momentum.
You recognize the 14-day cognitive trap of living paycheck to paycheck.
And the structural deficit of trying to make ends meet while tightening your belt.
You can articulate the exact difference between the objective, stored labor sacrifice of something costing an arm and a leg.
Versus the bitter, coercive Viking tax resentment of paying through the nose.
Or suffering highway robbery.
You know, the proactive compounding power of the nest egg.
And the insulation of the rainy day.
And you understand the deep cultural bias that reveres the active hustle of making a killing while scoffing at the unearned privilege of the silver spoon.
It is a highly sophisticated toolkit.
It is.
But simply memorizing the definitions isn't enough.
No, you have to use it.
The pragmatics of these phrases require you to deploy them to frame your own reality.
Exactly.
Like if you want to subtly critique a competitor's trust fund background in a meeting, you drop the silver spoon idiom.
Or if you want to build rapport with the client over terrible supply chain costs, you just commiserate over highway robbery. It gives you the power to speak the secret language.
It does.
But before we wrap up today's deep dive, there is a lingering philosophical problem here.
There is, yeah.
When you look at the entire board, all these phrases laid out together, there is a massive glaring paradox that we haven't addressed yet.
And it's a paradox that traps almost everyone participating in the modern economy.
It really does.
I want you to consider the inherent tension between two specific idioms we explored today, the nest egg and the silver spoon.
Okay, so the symbol of proactive security versus the symbol of unearned privilege.
Think about the ultimate underlying motivation for building a massive nest egg.
Okay.
Why do we endure the highway robbery? Why do we meticulously save for a rainy day and deny ourselves luxuries?
Right.
Yes, it is partly for our own retirement comfort.
Sure, we want to be comfortable.
But for most people, the deepest, most primal drive is generational.
To protect our kids.
Precisely. We build the fortress so that our children will never have to experience the visceral panic of a flat tire when they are flat broke.
Wow, yeah.
We want to ensure they never have to pull the ends of the string to make them meet or tighten their belts in a recession.
Right, we use our nest egg to insulate them entirely from the violent marketplace.
Which is universally considered noble, right?
It's the dream.
It is the dream. Yet, think about the logical conclusion of that noble pursuit.
Oh boy, I see where this is going.
If you successfully build a massive, perfectly insulated financial fortress for your descendants, are you not systematically constructing the exact same silver spoon life of privilege that our culture so heavily despises?
Oh man, that is heavy.
We condemn the silver spoon because it represents a life devoid of the very struggles that build character.
Right.
Yet the entire architectural purpose of the nest egg is to ruthlessly eliminate those exact struggles for our offspring.
That is a staggering contradiction.
It is.
We are working our fingers to the bone, hoping to make a killing, desperately weaving our nest egg, all to forge a silver spoon for our children.
A spoon that society, and perhaps even we ourselves, will ultimately judge them for holding.
It is a linguistic and moral trap.
We are culturally hardwired to revere struggle and despise unearned privilege.
But we are biologically and economically hardwired to strive for exactly that privilege for our bloodline.
It makes you question every financial decision you make, doesn't it?
It really does. Are you building a safety net or are you building an aristocracy?
it is something to seriously mull over the next time you review your investment portfolio.
Or the next time you find yourself judging someone else's financial background.
Exactly. The language we use doesn't just describe our money, it exposes our deepest hypocrisies.
I absolutely love that. And it brings us right back to the dinner party where we started.
Full circle.
Full circle. The next time the room goes dead silent because someone accidentally brought up the taboo topic of money, you don't have to freeze.
You don't have to awkwardly ask for someone's exact salary.
No, you can just look at the extravagant spread on the table, smile knowingly and say, well, whoever paid for this must have paid through the nose, but clearly they're rolling in it.
You have the code now.
Use it wisely.
You log into your banking app, right? And there's that little loading circle spinning on your screen. And for a split second, I mean, right before the numbers actually appear on the display,
your heart rate completely spikes.
Yes. Yeah. Just a fraction, right? Your breathing gets a little shallower. It's this completely involuntary, visceral reaction that we all just kind of ignore.
We treat money like it's just this totally abstract modern concept, like it's pure math.
Right, just numbers on a digital display,
right.
Simple addition and subtraction.
But our biology completely betrays us. I mean, our bodies react to checking a bank balance like it's a matter of immediate physical survival.
Like there's a literal predator in the brush just waiting for us.
Exactly. Yeah. And as it turns out, our language absolutely proves it.
Which is what we're doing today. We are tearing apart the vocabulary of money for this deep dive. We're going to uncover why the casual phrases we use at the dinner table or in the boardroom are actually rooted in these intense narratives of drowning, physical collapse, and honestly, social warfare.
It is entirely a survival instinct. And what is so fascinating to me is that we casually toss these idioms around every single day.
Oh, all the time.
We use them to describe our personal budgets or the broader economy or just splitting a bar tab. And we completely ignore the incredibly vivid, often violent metaphors hiding right inside the syllables. So we're going to deconstruct the words you already use and really look at the physical reality they were built upon.
Because we aren't just looking at dictionary definitions today. I mean, we all casually say we want to keep our business in the black.
Right.
Or we joke about a bad purchase being a money pit. But when you actually unpack the mechanics of these phrases, you realize that the English language has constructed a psychological framework around finance that is, well, intensely dramatic.
Very dramatic. And highly physical, too. The vocabulary of finance is rarely abstract.
No, it's really not.
It relies on gravity, on the threat of suffocation, and the literal physical weight of objects. It kind of bridges that gap between the objective reality of accounting and the deeply subjective, often terrifying human experience of trying to survive in a monetized world.
So let's start right there with the absolute bedrock of business terminology, like the baseline condition of whether you are surviving or failing.
The foundational stuff.
Right. We talk constantly about a company being in the black, meaning, they are profitable, they have money in the bank, versus being in the red, meaning they are operating at a loss, bleeding cash, owing money.
They are arguably the two most foundational idioms in our modern economic lexicon. I mean, you hear them on financial news networks constantly.
But hold on, because there is a massive visual disconnect here that we just collectively accept without questioning it.
What do you mean?
Well, think about your smartphone right now. If you open your banking app or your investment portfolio and you're having a good month, what color are the numbers?
Usually green.
They're green. Sometimes a calming blue, but almost universally, green means good. Green means growth, profit.
That's true.
And yeah, if you're overdrawn, the app flashes red. So technology uses green for positive and red for negative. So why on earth do we walk around saying we are in the black? Like, where does the black come from if our entire modern financial interface is green?
That disconnect is the perfect entry point, honestly.
Okay.
Because to understand in the black, you have to completely strip away your modern digital context.
Some new smartphones.
Right. Ignore the screens, the spreadsheets, the algorithmic trading. You have to time travel back to the 19th century into a dimly lit counting house because these phrases didn't start as metaphors.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they were tangible physical actions.
Okay, so we're talking about the physical mechanics of historical bookkeeping here.
Exactly. So before computers, every single transaction a business made, every crate of tea sold, every shipment of coal purchased, every worker's wage.
It all had to be recorded by hand.
By an actual accountant, yes. They maintained these massive, heavy, leather-bound ledger books. And when an accountant was recording a profitable sale or tallying up a positive bank balance, they used a standard bottle of physical black ink.
Okay.
They would dip their quill or their pen into the black ink and write the numbers down.
So black ink was just the default state of a functioning business. It was the baseline.
It was the baseline of stability. As long as you were writing in black, the business was breathing. But the moment the business suffered a loss or took on a debt or the account dropped below zero, the accountant couldn't just add a tiny minus sign. That wasn't enough. They had to physically change their tools.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they had to put away the bottle of black ink, reach across the desk for a completely separate bottle of red ink, and manually record that debt.
Think about the sensory experience of that. I mean, the psychological weight of that action alone. You are an accountant in 1850. You are going down the column of numbers and you realize the money has run out. You literally have to stop your workflow, cap the black ink, and crack open the red ink. It's an event.
It's a huge event.
Yeah.
And it's an alarm. The color red was intentionally used so that when the owner of the business opened that ledger, the negative numbers would violently stand out on the page.
You couldn't hide them.
Exactly. A single line of red ink on a page of black was a glaring warning sign. It was a physical acknowledgement of failure or liability.
It's incredible how that very specific physical chore from the 1800s has completely anchored itself in our modern digital psyche.
It really has.
I mean, you can have a cutting-edge artificial intelligence startup in Silicon Valley today. They've been grinding away, burning venture capital for 3 years. And when they finally make a profit, the founders pop champagne and celebrate finally being in the black.
Right. They're expressing their 21st century technological triumph using the imagery of a 19th century ink bottle.
It's so weird when you think about it.
It is, but it's a testament to how deeply ingrained this history is.
Yeah.
The physical act of dipping a pen into a specific color of ink was so stressful and so definitive that it outlived the very invention of the pen itself.
And conversely, you'll have a massive multinational corporation terrified of a bad quarter, telling their shareholders they are doing everything possible to avoid falling in the red.
Yep.
They don't say falling into the minus, they reference the color.
Because the color carries the emotional history.
Yeah.
But the colors black and red, as powerful as they are still ultimately clinical.
Yeah, they are objective accounting terms. They represent the math.
Right, they are just static facts on a page. But what happens when that red ink doesn't just sit there? What happens when the debt isn't just a bad quarter for a corporation, but a compounding disaster for an individual?
That is where our language undergoes a terrifying shift. When debt escapes the ledger and enters our personal lives, the idioms stop being about clinical ink colors and become intensely, physically threatening.
Which brings us to the metaphors we use when debt starts to multiply. We don't talk about numbers anymore. We talk about water. We talk about drowning in debt and struggling to keep your head above water.
The transition from ink to water is a brilliant linguistic evolution. It moves from something you observe on a page to an environment that actively surrounds and threatens you.
Why water, though? Of all the things language could have chosen, we could have talked about being crushed by debt or burned by debt.
That's a good point.
Why does the English language obsess over aquatic metaphors when we talk about financial distress?
I guess because of the unique physical properties of water. Water is heavy. It is fluid, meaning it finds its way into every single crack of your life. And most importantly, water is all-encompassing. When you are drowning in debt, it's not a localized injury.
Right.
If you break your arm hurts, but the rest of you is fine. When you are drowning, your entire existence, your entire reality is reduced to a single, desperate biological imperative.
The need for oxygen.
Exactly. That paints such a suffocating picture. Drowning in debt perfectly captures the psychological paralysis of owing massive amounts of money. Because when you are drowning, you aren't thinking about your 5-year career plan.
No, definitely not.
You aren't thinking about a vacation. You can only think about the next 30 seconds.
Exactly. The debt becomes an environment that swallows you. And consider the compounding scenarios that lead to this phrase. It's rarely just one bill.
Right. It's a cascade.
Yeah, it's the person who loses their job unexpectedly. That's the initial wave that knocks them over. But then, while they're down, a family member gets sick, and they are hit with massive unpayable medical bills.
Or the generational crisis we see constantly. A young person burdened by an astronomical amount of student loans who then has to rely on high-interest credit cards just to buy groceries.
Oh, it's brutal.
The volume of the money they owe is so overwhelmingly vast that it literally feels like millions of gallons of water pressing down on their chest.
They're completely submerged. The interest rates act like an undercurrent, constantly pulling them deeper, faster than they can possibly swim toward the surface.
It is a feeling of absolute, terrifying powerlessness.
Which makes the secondary phrase we use even more poignant. When you aren't completely submerged, but you are teetering right on the edge of it.
Keeping your head above water.
It's the state of perpetual near drowning.
Yes. Think about the physical act of treading water in the middle of a deep, dark ocean. If you've ever had to tread water for more than a few minutes, you know how incredibly exhausting it is.
It takes so much energy.
So much. When you are swimming toward a shore, you have momentum. You have a destination. You feel progress. But when you are treading water, you are kicking your legs furiously. You are sweeping your arms. You are burning an immense amount of caloric energy.
Just to stay in the exact same spot.
Exactly. That is a phenomenal analogy for living paycheck to paycheck. The precision of the idiom keeping your head above water is heartbreaking when you really look at it. It does not mean you are comfortable.
Not at all.
It means you are generating exactly enough upward thrust to keep the water right below your nostrils.
You are earning exactly enough to pay the predatory rent, to keep the electricity on, and buy the cheapest food available.
Yeah.
You are expending all of your life energy just to maintain a baseline of not dying.
And the most critical aspect of treading water, financially speaking, is that it operates with zero margin for error.
Zero.
If you are a small business owner who is just keeping their head above water, paying your staff but taking no profit for yourself, you are in a state of extreme vulnerability. You are surviving, yes, but you have no buffer.
One unexpected wave, a car breaking down, a sudden dental emergency, a slight dip in weekly sales.
And the water goes over your head, you inhale the water, you sink.
And living in that state of constant vigilance, that perpetual exhaustion of treading water, fundamentally alters human psychology. It rewires your nervous system entirely.
It has to. You can't operate with zero margin for error for years and not have it change your personality.
Right.
It makes you fiercely, aggressively defensive about every single resource you have.
Which serves as the perfect bridge into how financial anxiety dictates social behavior.
Oh, this is the good stuff.
It really is. When a person is terrified of sinking, they start holding onto their resources with a grip born of survival. But when that survival instinct bleeds into casual social situations, it creates immense friction.
Yes. It moves us from the mechanics of personal debt into the highly subjective, deeply judgmental morality of spending.
This is where the vocabulary gets really spicy and deeply personal. We are talking about the incredibly fine, highly debated line between positive carefulness and socially destructive stinginess.
The chasm between being frugal and being cheap.
The distinction between these two concepts is one of the most culturally significant aspects of financial language.
Yeah.
Because they both describe the exact same action, which is not spending money.
Right.
But society judges them in entirely opposite ways.
Frugal is a compliment. If someone calls you frugal, they are praising your management skills. A frugal person is strategic. They are careful with their resources, they look for efficiencies, they avoid waste. It implies wisdom and discipline.
Right. A frugal person might spend hours researching the best, most durable winter coat and wait for it to go on sale before buying it. They are maximizing the utility of their money.
Frugality is a virtue.
It is. But the English language has a very specific set of idioms for what happens when that carefulness crosses a very distinct, unwritten line and becomes toxic.
It devolves from frugal to cheap. And when we want to truly insult someone who embodies this negative trait, we deploy the noun cheapskate, or we describe their behavior as penny pinching.
Both terms are highly evocative. They don't just describe someone who is poor, they describe someone who is actively choosing to hoard resources in a way that negatively impacts others.
I want to focus on penny pinching for a second. Let's do a visual exercise for everyone listening. Don't just hear the phrase, picture the action.
Okay.
Imagine a person holding a single copper penny, the smallest, most culturally insignificant denomination of currency we have, and they are pinching it.
Wow, yeah.
They are squeezing that tiny coin between their thumb and their index finger with such intense, desperate, white-knuckled force that it almost cuts into their skin simply because they absolutely refuse to let it leave their hand.
It is a striking visual of irrational hoarding. You are expending physical effort to retain a fraction of a cent.
It's crazy.
And the noun cheapskate carries that same slightly derogatory, highly informal judgment. A cheapskate is someone whose relationship with money is fundamentally broken.
And we all know one. We have all experienced the intense frustration of dealing with a cheapskate. Because their financial anxiety isn't kept to themselves, they make it everyone else's problem.
Oh, absolutely.
Imagine going on a much-anticipated vacation with a group of friends. Everyone has agreed on a budget. You get to a local market, everyone is relaxed, and suddenly your cheapskate friend is aggressively haggling with a local street vendor, causing a massive scene, arguing for 20 minutes over a 50-cent difference in price.
They are entirely willing to ruin the emotional atmosphere of the group and disrespect the vendor to protect an infinitesimally small amount of capital.
Or the classic workplace scenario. A boss who makes six figures but is so intensely penny-pinching that they refuse to allocate $30 a month for decent coffee in the break room.
Oh, I hate that.
We all do. They buy the absolute cheapest, chalkiest, worst-tasting instant powder imaginable, forcing their entire staff to drink garbage every morning.
That boss is a textbook cheapskate. And if we analyze why that boss infuriates us so much, we uncover the true nature of what it means to be cheap.
Okay, what is it?
A cheapskate isn't just someone who doesn't like to spend money. A cheapskate is someone who refuses to spend money even when they should.
Even when they should. That is the crux of it.
Yeah.
Because who defines should?
The unwritten social contract defines it. Human society operates on a massive invisible web of reciprocal obligations.
Right.
When you work in an office or travel with friends, there's an expectation of shared contribution and basic consideration.
Like when a coworker is retiring after 20 years and an envelope is passed around to buy them a farewell gift, everyone throws in $5 or $10. It's not about the money. It's a symbolic gesture of community.
Exactly. And when the penny-pinching coworker aggressively refuses to contribute that $5, they are violating that unwritten contract. They are sending a very clear, hostile signal to the group.
Yeah.
They're saying, my retention of this tiny amount of money is more important to me than this community's harmony or this person's dignity.
It is deeply offensive. It breaches our trust. And honestly, nowhere in modern society is this unwritten social contract tested more fiercely, more frequently, and more awkwardly than at the end of a shared meal.
Oh, the arrival of the restaurant check is a universal flashpoint of social tension.
It really is.
It is the moment where our abstract theories about money and friendship are suddenly forced into hard physical reality.
It is pure theater. Think about the choreography of it. You are out at a nice restaurant with a group of people. The food was great, the wine was flowing, the conversation is lively. Then the plates are cleared. A subtle shift happens.
The waiter walks over.
Yes, the waiter walks over and silently drops that little black leather folder right into the center of the table. Instantly, the conversation stumbles.
The atmosphere completely changes.
It's a Western movie standoff. Everyone is staring at the leather folder, waiting to see who is going to make the first move, who is going to break the silence, who is going to draw their wallet first. In that span of 5 seconds, the entire power dynamic of the group is about to be negotiated.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. The tension is palpable because how that piece of paper is handled dictates the social hierarchy of the evening.
Totally.
And the idioms we use to navigate this exact minefield, foot the bill, go Dutch, and the fear of things that break the bank are incredibly strategic.
Let's start with the ultimate power move, the action that instantly dissolves the tension, deciding to foot the bill.
Right. To foot the bill is to take total unilateral financial responsibility for an expensive shared activity. It is the ultimate gesture of generosity, but it is also a subtle assertion of capability.
The classic example is when your parents come to visit you in the city. You take them to a nice dinner, you're looking at the prices on the menu, sweating a little bit, and when the check arrives, your dad just smoothly slides his hand over the leather folder, pulls out his credit card, and says, "I've got this."
He foots the bill for the entire evening.
Exactly. And in doing so, he reassures you of his parental role. He removes the financial burden from you and reestablishes a dynamic of caretaking.
Or consider a corporate environment where a company foots the bill for an extravagant holiday party. They are demonstrating their success and rewarding their employees.
It feels great when someone foots the bill, but wait, there's a dark side to it, isn't there?
Oh, but definitely.
Sometimes someone footing the bill is incredibly uncomfortable. If you are out with a colleague or an acquaintance and they aggressively insist on footing a massive bill, suddenly you feel trapped.
You've hit on the concept of reciprocity. In many cultures, accepting a fully paid meal creates an invisible debt. If someone foots the bill, you subconsciously feel that you owe them a favor or you owe them the next meal. It creates an imbalance of power.
Which is exactly why the English language gives us the ultimate pressure relief valve, the great equalizer, the phrase going Dutch.
Going Dutch is a fascinating cultural artifact. It means that the financial burden is decentralized. Each person participating in the shared activity pays exactly for what they ordered, or the total bill is split evenly down the middle among all participants.
No one owes anyone anything. The ledger is perfectly balanced immediately. Let's apply this to the highest stakes social interaction known to humanity.
The first date.
The first date. A remarkably complex social negotiation.
Truly.
When you are on a first date, the arrival of the check is terrifying. If one person steps up and foots the bill, it can be seen as incredibly romantic and generous, a display of traditional chivalry or success. But to the other person, it might feel like a trap. It might feel like an expectation is being purchased.
Which is why choosing to say, let's go Dutch on this, is a highly strategic defensive maneuver.
Yeah.
By going Dutch on a first date, you instantly neutralize the power dynamic. You establish baseline equality. Neither party can claim the other owes them a second date or any affection based on financial expenditure.
It's clean. It's safe. Hey, you bought your pasta. I bought my chicken. We had a nice conversation. Goodbye.
Right.
And there's a very practical internal reason we rely on going Dutch beyond just social dynamics. It protects our personal baseline. We go Dutch so that an unexpected group dinner doesn't force us to break the bank.
Break the bank is an idiom of ultimate boundaries. It acknowledges that everyone has a breaking point. It refers to using up all of your available financial resources or spending an excessively large amount of money that destabilizes your security.
We almost universally use it in the negative. We use it to express a desire balanced against a hard limit. Like, I really want to upgrade my laptop, but I need to find a model that won't break the bank.
Exactly. You are admitting a desire for consumption while simultaneously enforcing a boundary of self-preservation. You need a reliable used car to get to work, but you have to find one at a price point that won't destroy your carefully constructed monthly budget.
Or you want to take your family on a summer vacation, but you search endlessly for a hotel that won't break the bank.
It is the language of financial realism.
Okay, but let's be honest with each other. We can be realistic. We can carefully manage the restaurant check. We can avoid being a cheapskate. We can set strict boundaries to avoid breaking the bank.
Yeah.
And we can still mess up on a catastrophic scale. Sometimes, even with the best intentions, we spend massive amounts of money on entirely the wrong thing. We buy a disaster.
We do. And the language shifts again to accommodate this specific kind of tragedy, the tragedy of the bad investment.
Right.
When we talk about these massive financial mistakes, we rely on highly visual idioms of physics and gravity, specifically the concept of the money pit and the act of throwing money down the drain.
The gravity is what stands out so clearly here. In both of these phrases, we aren't just misplacing our money. We aren't just making a poor trade. We are being forced to watch our wealth physically fall downward, away from us, into dark, empty spaces.
It perfectly illustrates the feeling of utter powerlessness that accompanies a terrible financial decision. The money is slipping through your fingers, obeying the laws of gravity, and you cannot pull it back up.
It's a horrible feeling.
It really is.
Yeah.
So let's dissect the anatomy of the money pit.
The money pit is so uniquely cruel because it's a trap.
It is defined by deception. A money pit is an asset that brilliantly masquerades as an investment. You purchase it with the genuine belief that it holds inherent value or that it will appreciate over time.
Right.
But the reality is that its initial purchase price is just the cover charge. It requires constant, excessive, relentless financial upkeep that vastly exceeds whatever the asset is actually worth.
It is a bottomless hole in the ground. You are standing at the edge of this abyss with a shovel, scooping up your hard-earned cash, tossing it into the darkness, listening for it to hit the bottom.
And it never does.
Never. The hole never fills up.
The most universal example of this deception is the historic home.
Oh, the romance of the historic home. It is a siren song for so many people. You watch a few home renovation shows. You see a listing for a beautiful 1920s craftsman house with original hardwood floors and a wraparound porch.
That's lovely.
You think you are buying a piece of architectural history. You think you are buying charm.
And for the first week you are. But then The reality of physics sets in.
The reality is that the century-old cast-iron plumbing is completely corroded and bursts inside the wall. The charming vintage roof has a structural sag and leaks every time it rains.
Oh, no.
The electrical system is terrifying knob and tube wiring that poses an immediate fire hazard. You suddenly realize you didn't buy a home, you bought a hostage situation.
It consumes every dollar of your disposable income just to keep it standing. Another classic example is the vintage boat.
Boats are the worst for this.
It looks incredibly glamorous parked at the marina. You envision elegant weekends on the water with your friends.
Yeah.
But a boat is a notoriously aggressive money pit.
Because of the maintenance?
Exactly. You are paying exorbitant docking fees. The salt water is constantly corroding the engine. It needs specialized winter storage. You are endlessly feeding money into the hull just to keep it from sinking.
It drains your bank account, and worse, it drains your spirit. But as painful as a money pit is, there is a distinct difference between it and the other phrase in this category, throwing money down the drain.
Right.
If a money pit is an ongoing deceptive bleeding, what is throwing money down the drain?
Throwing money down the drain is an absolute, immediate, and unrecoverable failure. It represents total waste on a completely useless item or endeavor.
The gravity is different here. You aren't tossing it into a pit hoping to eventually fill it up and walk on top of it.
Yeah.
You are flushing it into the sewer system, fully aware that it is gone forever.
It's the instant regret of buying cheap knockoff goods. You want to save money, so instead of buying a quality blender, you buy the absolute cheapest, unbranded plastic blender you can find on the internet.
And it arrives, you plug it in, you try to blend some ice, and the motor immediately burns out.
Exactly.
It smokes, it sparks, it dies on day one. You can't return it. You can't buy replacement parts because they don't exist. It goes directly from the shipping box into the garbage can.
You didn't buy a blender, you just rented a piece of plastic for an hour. You took a $20 bill, turned on the sink, and literally washed it down the drain. It's pure waste.
Which forces a massive psychological reckoning. And this leads us to the final and undoubtedly the most difficult realm of our linguistic journey today.
The strategy of financial self-preservation.
The ultimate test of financial maturity. Once you realize you have made a terrible mistake, once you wake up and admit that your charming, historic home is a bottomless money pit, or that your business idea is throwing money down the drain.
How do you stop the bleeding?
Exactly. The English language prescribes two incredibly high-level strategic idioms for survival: cutting your losses and not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Let's focus on cutting your losses. In business philosophy, this is considered a highly advanced, deeply difficult discipline to master.
Okay, I have to stop you here because I've always struggled with this concept.
Why is that?
Why is it considered an advanced discipline? From a purely logical standpoint, if you are holding something that is actively burning you, you drop it. If I touch a hot stove, my nervous system doesn't need an advanced degree to tell my hand to pull back. It happens instantly.
That's a fair point.
If you are standing over a money pit that is destroying your life, shouldn't it be the easiest, most instinctive thing in the world to just walk away? Why is money different than a hot stove?
That is the core paradox of human financial behavior. Money is different because it is tethered to our ego and to a psychological phenomenon known as the sunk cost fallacy.
The sunk cost fallacy.
Right. When you pull your hand off a hot stove, you are just reacting to physical pain. But when you decide to cut your losses financially, you are forced to attack your own identity.
Walk me through the psychology of that. Why does it hurt my ego to stop losing money?
Because as long as you keep pouring money into the money pit, you can maintain the illusion that it is an investment. You can tell yourself, if I just fix the roof, the house will be perfect and I can sell it for a profit.
Oh, I see.
As long as the project is active, the loss is only theoretical. You haven't officially failed yet. You're just in a difficult transition period.
By continuing to spend, I am protecting my pride.
Exactly. But the moment you decide to cut your losses, you are severing that illusion. You are being forced to look in the mirror, permanently accept failure, and admit that the initial money you spent, the thousands of hours you invested, the brilliant vision you had, was completely, undeniably wrong.
Wow.
And that money is gone forever. You have to endure the intense psychological pain of realizing the loss.
So cutting your losses means overriding your own ego to protect your future.
It is a strictly rational decision executed in a highly emotional moment. Think of a corporate management team. They launch a massive, highly publicized marketing campaign. They've staked their reputations on it. But 3 weeks in, the data is disastrous.
Numbers are bad.
terrible. The campaign is alienating customers and costing the company tens of thousands of dollars a day with zero return.
The emotional, ego-driven thing to do is to double down, to keep funding it, tweak the graphics, and pray the market turns around so they don't look foolish to the board of directors.
But the disciplined, advanced thing to do is to swallow their pride, stand up in front of the board, admit the strategy was a failure, cancel the campaign immediately, and cut their losses before the company's baseline is compromised.
It's the same devastating reality for small business owners. Imagine a family who opens a restaurant. It's their lifelong dream. But after 2 years, the location is bad, the foot traffic isn't there, and it simply isn't making a profit.
It happens all the time.
Every month, they're dipping into their personal savings just to pay the waitstaff.
The sunk cost fallacy tells them to take out a second mortgage and keep trying. But cutting their losses means enduring the heartbreak of closing the doors forever in order to save their family from total bankruptcy. It requires immense courage to voluntarily accept a painful ending.
It does. But if cutting your losses is the painful cure for a bad decision, our language also provides the ultimate preventative vaccine. The golden rule to keep you from ever being entirely destroyed by a failure.
The wisdom of diversification, perfectly encapsulated in the idiom, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
It is such a brilliantly simple agrarian metaphor. It is immediately understood the second you hear it, whether you are a Wall Street trader or a high school student. Let's look at the physical objects involved. An egg is inherently fragile.
Very fragile.
It is a thin shell. It is designed to be broken. A basket is a singular container. It has one handle. It is a single point of failure.
And if you take every single fragile asset you own, every egg you have collected, and place them all together into one single container, you are maximizing your vulnerability.
You are daring gravity to ruin your life. Because if you stumble on a rock, or if the handle of the basket snaps, or if someone bumps into you,
the basket drops,
and every single egg shatters at the exact same millisecond,
you are left with absolutely nothing. Zero assets.
This is the tragic reality of individuals who fail to diversify their financial lives. Consider someone who works for 30 years diligently saving their money.
Okay.
But instead of spreading those savings across different stocks, bonds, and real estate, they take their entire life savings and invest it completely into a single, highly hyped, unproven startup company.
They put all their eggs in that one technological basket, convinced it's going to make them a billionaire. And then the startup's product fails to launch. The CEO mismanages the funds. The company abruptly declares bankruptcy. The basket drops.
The eggs shatter. And because they had no other baskets, their life savings, decades of labor and sacrifice, are completely wiped out in an instant. They have to start over from zero. It is the ultimate cautionary tale.
Which brings us to the core realization of this entire exploration. The vocabulary we use to discuss money isn't just a collection of colorful phrases to make spreadsheets sound interesting.
No, it's not.
It is a generational survival guide. These idioms are warnings, forged in the pain of historical experience, passed down through language to help us navigate a deeply dangerous economic reality.
What an incredible journey this has been. Unpacking those warnings changes everything about how you hear the news or talk to your friends. Let's take a breath and do a rapid-fire thematic recap of the immense terrain we've covered today.
Sounds good. We began by wiping away the comforting green screens of our modern apps to uncover the physical 19th century reality of the accountant's ledger. We felt the psychological alarm of capping the black ink and reaching for the red ink to record a failure.
From the clinical ink, we plunged into the terrifying, suffocating environment of personal debt. We explored the physics of water, understanding what it feels like to truly drown under compounding loans, or the utter relentless exhaustion of furiously kicking your legs just to keep your head above water with zero margin for error.
We tracked how that survival panic alters our behavior, leading us to navigate the delicate, unwritten social contracts of society. We defined the sharp distinction between the virtuous management of a frugal person and the toxic hoarding desperation of the penny-pinching cheapskate.
We sat through the agonizing Western standoff of the restaurant check. We weighed the complex power dynamics of generously footing the bill against the brilliant neutralizing equality of going Dutch, all while ensuring we enforce our boundaries so a single dinner doesn't break the bank.
And finally, we examined the gravity of wasted wealth. We learned to recognize the deceptive, bottomless nature of the money pit, the unrecoverable tragedy of throwing money down the drain, and the intense psychological courage required to attack our own ego, cut our losses, and protect our future by never putting all our fragile eggs into one vulnerable basket.
It truly is a masterclass in the physical imagery of language. And here is my direct challenge to you, listening right now. The next time you find yourself in a conversation about the broader economy, or you are sitting at a table debating who's going to pay for the appetizers, I want you to actively deploy these phrases.
Yes, use them.
But don't just use them, visualize them. Don't just say, that car is expensive. Say, I'm terrified it's a money pit. Don't just say, we decided to stop the project. Say, we finally had the discipline to cut our losses.
Right.
Weaving this highly vivid physical imagery into your daily communication is the absolute key to sounding incredibly fluent, sophisticated, and deeply engaged with the world around you.
It elevates a simple financial transaction into a compelling human narrative. It makes your stories resonate on a visceral level. But before we officially sign off for the day, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to ponder. A question that builds on the very foundation of everything we've analyzed today.
Oh, I love a good lingering thought. Lay it on us.
Well, we have spent this entire deep dive observing how the English language relies on incredibly stressful metaphors to describe money. We talk about drowning in deep oceans, sinking into bottomless pits, pulling out red ink as a glaring warning, and the devastating, irreversible shattering of eggs when a basket is dropped.
It's a vocabulary of absolute disaster.
It is. So, if the linguistic framework we use every single day to describe money is built almost entirely on imagery of danger, physical collapse, and narrow escapes, does this language subconsciously program us? By using these words, are we training our own brains to view personal finance entirely through a lens of fear, anxiety, and pure survival, rather than a lens of opportunity, creation, and growth? Are our very words making us afraid of our own money?
Wow. Are we linguistically programming our own financial anxiety? Are we trapping ourselves in a mindset of scarcity just by speaking English?
It's something to think about.
That is a phenomenal, deeply unsettling question, and I guarantee it is something I am going to be thinking about every single time I check my banking app from now on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today.
It was a pleasure.
Keep analyzing the words you use, keep paying attention to the hidden history inside your vocabulary, try your absolute hardest to never throw your hard-earned money down the drain, and have a phenomenal morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are in the world.